This is a copywritten production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.
We're gonna go ahead and get this party started so we can get you guys out of here early on a Friday. Yeah, exactly. Because when you go home, I go home, and I'm liking that a lot, okay? So first of all, I want to thank you for coming on Friday to the 2020 RCSC Board Policy 12 Charter Clubs Officer Training. And by a show of hands, how many of you are new officers? Yay! So what happened? You didn't step back when they asked? No. And so we've got a lot of newbies in here this time. That's awesome news. Awesome. Thank you. And I want to thank you also for stepping up and being gatekeepers of your club. You all are the people that the people in your club are going to be looking up to, and obviously your role models to begin with. So that's pretty awesome. Just a couple of quick things we're going to talk about before we get started. First thing I'd like to do is ask you to, if you have a cell phone, to go ahead and turn it off. Oh, look at all the new officers, how cute. They're all reaching for their phones because the other officers knew. I like that. Second thing is, if there's the need, the ladies' and gentlemen's rooms are on both sides here, and folks in the back, come on up to the chairs. Come on, we're not using the tables. So the restrooms are on both sides if you need them. The next thing is, we're not going to be taking questions in the middle of this, because what happens is if somebody raises their hand, they say, well, what about this? Then a club over here says, well, but our club is like this. And somebody over here says this. And I want to be out at 3 o'clock. So write your questions down. We have your COCs here. What is a COC? I'm going to tell you. And you're also going to find out who your COC is. Your COCs are going to be sitting right here, and your chairs are over here. And I'm going to tell you about them in just a minute. This board package that you have in front of you, I know it's small. Last year I had 3 little panes on there, and I got in trouble for that because it was too small. So you got 2 this time. But if you need it bigger, then go ahead, and we have it on the website for you. Okay, we're going to have everybody come on up here to the chairs, and that's the last time I will say that. So I'm going to introduce you to the Chartered Club's office. We've had a pretty significant change this year, and that change was, you all may remember that we had the Member Services Department, and the Member Services Department was entertainment, activities, and the Chartered Club's office. So what happened this year is both departments are so busy, it was recognized that what we needed to do is we needed to make them 2 distinct departments. And so now the entertainment department, headed by Teresa Serino, is over here by the West Hall. And the Charter Club's office is in the same spot, but within about 60 days, we are going to be moving also. And we're going to be moving just right across the pool into the corporate office. So you'll be coming over there instead. Check us out. All right, thank you. I like that too. Up here is Joanne Martin, and Joanne is our Charter Club's agent. She's going to be your first line of contact. Joanne is going to be the person that you're going to come in and you're going to talk to about making changes to your reservations and so on. So again, if you have any questions, there's Joanne's phone number. Down here we have JoLynn Higgins. Wave, JoLynn. Many of you know her. JoLynn is our communications and marketing coordinator, and JoLynn's the person you're going to talk to about Sun Views, your web pages, and all of that. And then, of course, there's me. Charter Club Supervisor. I've been doing this for 6 years now, almost 7. So a lot of you may already know me. And at this time, what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask if there's any RCSC Board of Directors here, would you please stand up? Yay! Keep standing, because I want to introduce you. And as I introduce you, you can have a seat. Back here in the back, we have Darla Akins. Darla was on our board last year and has been reelected for the next 3 years. Welcome, Darla. Darla is also going to be our secretary this year. So thank you very much, Darla. We have Mike Kennedy. Mike Kennedy is one of our board of directors. He is returning this year. We have Barbara Brem, right? Barbara Brem. Barbara is brand new as well. So we're glad that she's on board with us now. And then up front, I'm missing no one else? They're back here, right? Okay. So and up front we have Mike Eggy, Mike Eggy, and he's joining our board this year, and he's also going to be the co-chair of the COC committee, and again, we're going to talk about what a COC is. So we're glad to have you, Mike, and then we have returning Sue Wilson, who Sue is our treasurer. She was a treasurer last year, and she's our chair of our board of our COC committee. So we have a lot of great talent in our board and on our committees. So thank you, everybody. Here are your COCs, and I know, what is a COC? I'm going to leave these up here for just a minute for you to kind of look and see, and it's in your packet as well. And I'm going to introduce you to some of the COCs right now that have come in today. They're in your packet, and if you need to ask or call me, that was the number one question I had last year when everybody wrote their questions down. Who's our COC? So I thought I'd go ahead and put it up there this year. And so you can see. These COCs, they're called club coordinators, and they're here to help you. If you have any questions on policies or so on, please, you're going to want to talk to these folks. But they are the liaison between the RCSC Board of Directors and the charter clubs. So they're there. If you've got suggestions, you need a policy, you think a policy needs to be looked at, they're the folks you would bring it to, and they would bring it to the COC committee. The COC committee meets the second Wednesday of every month. So that kind of gives you an idea of when it is, in case you've got some ideas you need to bring to them. If you want them to, you can invite them. You can invite them to all your meetings. You can invite them into your club room. They're there to help you with your club and help it run smoothly. These people, like our board of directors, are all volunteers. So they live in our community, they're all volunteers, and we really appreciate them spending time and wanting to invest in our clubs. They can be very instrumental in helping you if you have any kind of issues in your club, any kinds of disputes in your club. So if you have questions, like after today, since we're not taking questions, write your questions down. And what we'll do is you can call your COC and they'll be able to help you. At this point in time, what I'd like to do is introduce the COCs we have here. We have Terry Watts. Thank you, Terry. And we have James T. Terrence C. I probably could have said that yesterday or the day before. It's been a long week. And then we have Miss Pat Clucker. Yeah, and again, we have Sue and Mike. So these are the folks that can help you. If your COC is not here, give them a call. Introduce yourself. They really want to hear from you. And again, they can be as hands-off as you want, or they can be right there, hands-on for you. Charter club requirements. Charter clubs are a subordinate group under the RCSC, and we are a 501c4. And that is a designation by the IRS as a nonprofit social organization. Okay, so nonprofit social organization. Each of your clubs were formed primarily to operate and must operate for the common good and general social welfare of the people of this community. You may not operate primarily to promote social welfare if the primary activity is to run your club as a business. So remember, we're a social organization, and we need to remember we're social. You guys are so instrumental in how your club is run. You know, a lot of times what happens is new officers come in and they want to change things right away. Let's get those things changed away, right away. We have a lot of great ideas. But what happens in most clubs is you will find pushback. If you try to do it immediately without getting your club's support, your members' support, you're going to get pushback. And things will not run smoothly in your club. So try to take everybody into consideration, what everybody's thinking, and implement slowly. That's just a good piece of advice for all of you new folks. And remember, it's not your club, it's everyone's club. So we always have to remember that. Don't let your club be the bandit that robs RCSC cardholders of their clubs. And by that, I mean, don't run it like a business. It cannot be a business. So make sure if for some reason the IRS came in and did an audit, and they said, well, they're running their business. This is a business. They're running it as a business. We could lose our designation as a 501c4, and we don't want that. We are pretty darn happy, and we've been happy since 1968 or whenever. Additional requirements for charter clubs, and I'm not going to read through all these, I promise you. You must maintain a membership of 50 if you have a designated space, and someone just asked me a little while ago, what is a designated space? A designated space would be, just for instance, would be a wood shop, would be artistic stained glass, anywhere where you have, any of the ceramics clubs, anywhere where you have machinery that it's fixed machinery, and you have that space and only you use that space. Okay? So we do have some clubs that it's their designated space, but they do share because they are very similar in what they do. So if you have to have a membership of 50 on those, to have a club or to start a club, you have to have a minimum of 25, and you need to keep that 25 at all times on your roster. You must at a minimum have a president and a secretary/treasurer. So a minimum of 2. In your packets, there is I think it's maybe one of the forms, I think it's number 7, and it says you have to have a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer. We are updating those forms, and we will be getting you a new form, just so you know that. But anyways, this changed because we know that sometimes it's very difficult to get officers for a club. Am I wrong? No. No. You must have 2 executive board meetings annually. And when you turn in your schedule for 2021, when Joanne and I get ready to start making those reservations for 2021, if we don't notice that you have 2 board meetings listed, we'll contact you and ask you to let us know. We don't care where you have it. If you want to have it at your home over wine and cheese, that's awesome. Just make sure you have 2 designated on your sheet. And you have to have a minimum of 1 membership meeting a year. Yeah, you can have as many as you want. I always think communication is the key to having success with everybody, especially when you have a large group of people. You need to establish rules and regulations, and they must be approved by the club membership. Any changes to those rules and regulations must be approved at a membership meeting. So if you're going in and you're looking at the rules and regulations and you're saying, no, we need to change that, this, that, or the other, get a committee of 3 or 4 people, and you're going to have to, again, put that out to your membership before it can be changed. And again, I'm not going to go through these, but I'm going to hit a couple highlights. In your rules and regulations, these are suggestions. The suggestions would be, how many officers are you going to have? Are you going to have officers at large? What happens if an officer resigns? If the president resigns, does the vice president automatically go up into that position? Or do you have another election? That's one of the key things you want to do. And how many times can an officer miss a meeting? Is it that they can't, that that they don't have to be at meetings, they have to be meetings, whatever. Annual dues. If a person joins the club late in the year, say October, and the dues are $20 a year, do you prorate it and make them pay again in January, or do you just say, hey, give me the $20 and you're good for this year and next year? That's something you want to think about putting in your rules and regulations as well. And we're going to talk about honorary lifetime memberships. Well, how are you going to vote? Is it in person, by proxy? Are you going to use Robert's Rules of Order? What are you going to do? Who's going to sign on your bank account? Those are all of the things that you need to think about. And one of the things, and I can't find my paper here, but I will tell you that you need to go back and look at your rules and regulations. We did an audit this year, and again, I can't find my exact page that I have this on, but we had 2 clubs that have not updated the rules and regulations since 2009. And then the numbers are staggering from there also, because then it comes to 7 having, there's a total of 55 clubs that have not updated the rules and regulations since 2016. So go back and look at it and make sure that it hits some of these topics. Oh, I hear a telephone. Charter club membership. Charter club membership is open to all valid RCSC cardholders only. There is no special kind of membership. There's not you come over here and, you're from Sun City West, but you're going to be, the non-cardholder membership. There is no such thing as a membership for anyone other than valid RCSC cardholders. Which brings up to this next. The honorary and lifetime memberships are applicable to valid RCSC cardholders only. And this is kind of touchy because you may have a card holder that goes into someplace like Royal Oaks or one of the other facilities, and now they don't have a card. They cannot be members of your club unless they have picked up a privilege card. Okay? So there is no lifetime membership or honorary memberships for anyone other than a valid cardholder. Only club members can hold office and vote for office. And each one has 1 vote. How you decide to do that vote is up to you. Just remember that you have to have quorum, and we're going to talk about that in a second, but you have to have a quorum, and a quorum is in person, not on the phone, not anywhere else. To ensure memberships are in good standing, clubs must submit a current membership roster twice a year, March and October. And I have to go through every single one of those. So, y'all are wondering what this riser's for? Not really. Well, anyways, I'm going to tell you. This is my soapbox right here. So when I come over here and I get on this, we're about to have a come to the church meeting, okay? Yeah. So. Yahoo! That is the sound I make when I get a roster incorrect. I'd like to stop for a quick second and welcome Nancy Nixon as one of our other COCs. Nancy. Hey, baby, sign up. Hand up. Woohoo! That's Nancy Nixon. She's like, Myrna, really? You embarrass me. The reason that you get big Yahoo is because this is what I want. I have to go through about 23 steps to get a roster ready to go into our other system. So we have a different system than Cardholder Services has right now. We're working on it. So, but there's 23 steps I have to go through to get it ready, if it comes in perfect like this. So all I need is just the last name, comma, first name, and their membership and ID number. I don't need anything else. Please, nothing else. No. Here's my soapbox coming up. Please don't send them in PDF. I can't open your PDF. Don't send them in PDF. This last year, I had a ton of clubs send me PDFs. We've been talking about this for years now. No PDFs. Please, don't do wrap columns. And wrap columns are when you have your spreadsheet and you're going to put this one over here and this one over here and that one over there, and then you hide them all. Because what happens then is when I get ready to send it over to our IT department, it has Smith, comma, Mary, your number, comma, 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 comma. And I've got to go back and spend time trying to find out where the wrapped columns are in this. It's my least favorite thing to do all year long. Nicknames. I don't need nicknames. I don't want nicknames because what happens then, I have to go in and manually take all the nicknames out. Because the nicknames are not recognized by the system, because when you get your card has your given name on it. And it's the name that's on the deed of the home that you own. So, don't pop in Bill when it's William. Please put in the name. And you should be pulling those names off of their cards. When someone comes into your club and they're a brand new member, look at the card. Don't do a key fob, because you can't verify that's really who they are. Okay, so make sure you get their RCSC card and put the face and the name together. Personal information, I'm not a stalker, so I really don't want anybody's telephone numbers, email addresses, any of that, because then I've got to go back in and wipe it all out. An emergency contact, that's for you, that's really not for me. So don't add the emergency contact in there. And the reason you're seeing this is because we've been doing this for years and years and years, and we're still getting all of those things on it. This is what you're going to get back from us. And it's going to look like this, because we're going to send it through. And it's going to have the cardholder number, the name you gave me for the cardholder. This is the person who owns that property that is affiliated with that number. And it's going to tell you their status when they expire, and that doesn't mean anything other than when their term is up on their household. When we talk about expiration, I say this every year, but when you talk to somebody about expiration, it means a whole different thing here in Sun City. So we don't call anybody and say, hey, you expired, because they don't like it. And then it'll tell you what their status is, if they're active, deleted, yada, 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 yada. I want to show you a couple of things that are going to jump out at you, and that's like down here. Jan Cummings is different than Alan Strong. This 9000 series, this indicates a privilege card. People that have any kind of 9000 series are privilege card holders. Privilege card holders have the same privileges as regular card holders. They cannot hold office, they cannot vote, and I'm not talking about in your club, I'm talking with RCSC. They cannot vote for our board, they cannot speak at our meetings, but other than that, they have all the same privileges. So what happens is you're going to get this back, and you're going to see that Jan Cummings has no privileges. Well, what has happened most likely, because Jan Cummings rented Alan Strong's house. So she rented it for 3 months, and she loved Sun City so much, she went and bought her own house. So what happens now is that Jan Cummings has a new number, and it's going to be one of these other numbers up here. This number follows the property, it doesn't follow the person. So that's really important for you to know. If you get something like this, one of the things you're going to want to assume is that maybe she was a visitor, she was renting, but she had privileges on that property, and now she doesn't, but she's still coming to your club. What do? Ask Jan. You're going to ask Jan if they're to verify her number for you. And if Jan tells you, well, my number is 102, blah, 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 then you go ahead and fix it on your roster. I don't need to know about that. Fix it on your roster for the next time, because she's moved into a house of her own. If Jan says, well, Myrna, my number is 915-665, I want to say, Jan, I think there must be something wrong, a glitch in the computer system over at Recreation Centers of Sun City. So would you do me a favor? I need you to contact Cardholder Services, because you're coming up as not having any privileges. So there's just a glitch. So get a hold of them. And they do come in, and around roster time, instead of going to Cardholder Services, a lot of the clubs send them to me, and we'll check it out. I don't mind checking that out at all. We've also had clubs that get this back after I do all that work, and they don't even look at it. They don't fix it. So they have people that don't even live here, that don't pay for our centers or our clubs or anything else. They're coming in, they're using your machinery, they're participating in your club. One of the things I want to tell you is please look at this and please get these fixed. We had one club that had somebody who was still in from like 2014, and they had gotten this year after year after year after year, and they had not taken care of this person. So we had a non-RCSC person on here. There's a way for you to validate your card holders, and that is by going to the suncityaz.org, our website, and you're going to click on the recreation tab, and then you're going to do the pull down, and there's a area for clubs. And what you'll see is I think there's 6 different tabs down here, and at the very end it'll say member validator. And as officers, you should have a password and a user ID and a password. They're case specific, and we don't give them out to everybody. You have to use this on RCSC property. You can't do it from home, unfortunately. This only works on our property. So what you're going to get is you're going to get something that looks like this. Again, remember, it's case specific, so if you can't get into it, you need to recheck what you're putting in. You can get this from me. We have it in our office. So once you do get it and you put it in, then you're going to jump over here and you're going to get your validate. It's going to come looking just like this, the validated member privilege. You're going to put their member number in here and hit validate. And once you do that, you're going to get one of these 3 screens. Hopefully you're going to get that beautiful green screen that tells us that Jan Eck is active. Yes, she did pay her fees this year. This up here is an RCSC card holder that doesn't have privileges. And this is a card member that hasn't been found. So, with that being said, if you come up with one of these, you're going to want to call that person. Just ask them, hey, can you repeat your number? We get transposed numbers all the time. Or we get a number wrong, or we add a number. Not we. We do that all the time. So, anyways, this you're going to get one of these 3 things. Again, remember, you're going to have to be on RCSC property to use that. And if you have any problems, you're welcome to come by our office, myself or Jolynn. We can always help you. We're going to do a quick thing on, a quick slide on visitors and guests. A club visitor is an RCSC card holder that's not a member of your club. So say that I want to come over to the woods. That's not a good one. I want to come over to sewing, and I just want to see what it's all about. I want to do a tour. I'm just going to do a quick tour, and I'm not going to be using sewing machines or anything like that. I'm just visiting. I just want to see what it looks like. A club guest is a non-Sun City resident or a Sun City resident who is not an RCSC card holder. Visitors are not required to pay a guest fee. Guest fee is $2.50, and every club is supposed to be getting those $2.50 from club guests. Clubs are required to pay RCSC $2.50 per club guest per day. They must be recorded on a guest attendance sheet. There's a guest attendance sheet if you don't have one on the website. And they need to be submitted to us no later than 10 days after the close of the month. Now, the club pays us $2.50 per card holder, per guest. But if the club says, well, you know what, we're going to charge guests $5, and you put that other $2.50 into your fund, whatever you want to do, that's fine. But you're obligated to $2.50 to RCSC. Unless the club uses a host punch card or a daily pass, then the fees are not collected because when you buy those cards, you've already paid that $2.50. And then I wanted to talk real quick about that. Hold on. She's getting on this thing. So we're going to talk about this for a second because what happens is if I go out, Bob goes out, and Bob says, I'm going to go buy a bunch of host punch cards, and Bob uses Bob's personal recreation card, and he buys 10 of these punch cards for the club. Somebody gets mad in that club and says, you know what, we need to have an audit. They're not paying guest fees. So what happens is, Bob says, but I do it my personal card. No, we don't use personal cards to buy punch cards for club guests. Every club has been issued a club card that looks very much like, our RCSC cards. Use those cards, because then if we ever have to go back and say, you know what, that dance club has never paid us a dime. Wonder why? We can run at RCSC a report that shows yes, indeedy. So the other thing is, RCSC put out last year 14 days for guest visits, and if we see that someone has a lot of personal visits, then that might get looked at. So just keep from being flagged. A visitor is anyone who wishes to tour the club and not participate in club activities. And we get this all the time with the dance clubs. They'll say, I just want to come in and sit here and just watch. Well, they're not really a visitor because they're enjoying the music. They're actually being part of what's going on. So they're not coming in and saying, this is nice, I think I like this, and the vibe in here is really great. They're actually enjoying the services, so that's when it would turn into a guest. Anyone providing instruction is a club visitor. And anyone that provides care or assistance to an RCSC cardholder. And caregivers, we have in not in our office, but in the corporate office, we have a waiver for real caregivers, and you have to go to they have to go to the doctor to get a note that says, this is Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Miller is her caregiver, this is what she does for her, blah, blah, blah. And then we can go ahead and give a certificate on that one. How many of you use Charter Club monitors? Oh, okay, I'm trying to figure out who we are here. All right, club monitors. All clubs that use tools and equipment that can cause injury must have a club monitor during all operating hours where a tool can be used, okay? You have to have that. One of the things I get asked a lot, and I didn't say this in the meeting the other day, but I really need to, because one of the questions that comes up is, how many people have to be in a room? Do you have to have, is there a minimum? Obviously one, duh. Anyways, but do we have to have 2 people? We don't tell you that. We don't tell you what you have to have, but from a safety issue, from a safety standpoint, it's always good to have 2 people in your room. And we don't tell you have to, but it's always good to have 2 people in a room, because if somebody, God forbid, somebody comes in and there's an assault, someone is less likely to assault 2 people than they are 1. The other thing about that is if, again, heaven forbid, I fall over and I have a stroke and it's Friday night and nobody comes back in until Tuesday, that's not good. So we have the safety issue. So again, it's up to your club, but we would really like to see you be safe. And safety is our number 1 priority with RCSC. Charter Club monitors, they must be identifiable and fully trained in all the tools and equipment in the club. Now, somebody came to me afterwards on Tuesday and said, Myrna, they can't possibly know how to use this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece, and this piece. They're specialized in these. And I said, but it happened to be a sewing machine. And I said, can they pull the plug out of the wall? Can they move the bobbin up and get that finger out? Those are the things we need to make sure that our club monitors know how to do, just to be able to get that person to a safe situation. Monitors must report all noncompliance on club member conduct reports. And I know that nobody in here has ever had a problem with anybody in their club. I'm sure that we are all behaving as adults, right? Yeah. So, and it's not that you're not going to say, ooh, I don't like Mary Jo. I'm going to write her up. Mary Jo looked sideways at me. I'm going to write her up. No, it's really misconduct, okay? So it's not just, I don't like Mary Jo, so I'm going to write her up. It's real misconduct. Duties of a monitor must be stated in your rules and regulations. So go back and look at your rules and regulations, and they are responsible for making sure that an RCSC incident report is completed in case of injury. We're going to go into detail about incident reports in a little while. Yeah, because we have a new incident report, and this one is so much more friendly. So much more friendly. And here's just a little something that goes from Lakeview. Now, David, that last cookie's mine. And David's like, but why? Because I'm the monitor and I say so, basically. He knows what's good for David. That last cookie isn't good for David. Club member discipline. During the April 8th, 2019 RCSC board meeting, this was changed. So if you have not changed your rules and regulations since April 8th of 2019, and you do not have a discipline policy, or you have one, it needs to be updated. What we say is club members should comply with RCSC and club rules and regulations and conduct themselves in a manner so as not to jeopardize the rights and privileges of other club members. If a club member fails to comply, conduct themselves in an appropriate manner, it may be reported on a club conduct report, which follows the process outlined in the club's rules and regulations. Why do you think we had to do that? Because a lot of clubs did not have this. And I want to say again, I had 50 clubs that did not have anything in their rules and regulations about discipline. You must put something in there because it does come up. Even though you think you have the best club in the world, and I know you do, you're still at some point in time may end up coming up with this. I want to talk also, it's not just the club members. It could be a member of your executive board. So make sure that when you're putting together your rules and regulations about a discipline policy, make sure you add in there, what happens if Myrna's mad at that, something happens between me and the president, and it's major. Myrna, as a club member, can write that president up also. So what happens then? I'm not going to take it to the president and say, you really ticked me off, and here's a conduct report on you. You're not going to do that. But what do? Do you give it to another member of the board? What happens at that point? Okay, so know that you need to address the executive board also in your rules and regulations on what the process is and what the steps are. Any club member disciplined by the club's executive board may submit a written request or for appeal to the board, and the board is the RCSC Board of Directors. Now, we're not going to ask you to flood them. Please don't flood them, but there are cases where maybe a board got overexcited and suspended somebody for 90 days. Well, that member's like, I didn't do anything. So what's going to happen at that point, I, as the member, am going to appeal to the board of directors. And when I appeal to the board of directors, we don't have a committee at the board of directors. It's going to be different board members are going to be requested to hear this hearing, and it's going to hear everybody's side. And they're going to make a decision on whether the, say, suspension is upheld or not. Make sure that any code of conduct is completed and submitted within 30 days of the infraction. If, in fact, there is an infraction, if there are witnesses to it, have the witnesses as well. Make sure and put those on the code of conduct form. Going to membership meetings. When voting for club officers and other business, you must have a quorum, and we talked about what a quorum was a minute ago. It has to be in person, and a quorum consists of members who are present at the meeting only, up to 100 members. If you have up to 100 members, you have 20% of your membership must be there. If you don't have 20% of your membership or you don't have a quorum, It's not. You can still have a meeting, but it's not a valid meeting where you can make changes. And then we just give you an example of an agenda. And it's always good to post your agenda ahead of time. Post your agenda ahead of time so everybody knows what's happening. If you have the means of doing an email blast, get it out to everybody so everybody knows what's happening. Have your committee reports. It's really important that you communicate, and everybody feels like they have been listened to. So, and then also we talked about it a second ago, in your rules and regulations, how are you going to run your meetings? Are you going to follow Robert's Rules of Order, or are you just going to kind of free will it? So think about how you want to have those meetings done and put it in your minutes. Not your minutes, excuse me. Club records. I get this question a lot. We're just cleaning all these, we've got 20 boxes of stuff. How long do I have to keep it? All club correspondence and club meeting minutes, 3 years. Club financial records and reports, 3 years, prior to the year you're in. Club deposit records, club receipts, 3 years. Club tax returns, just like at home, 7 years. Major club capital equipment, copy of your invoice and warranty, keep that for the life of the equipment you have. Club discipline and conduct reports, 5 years. And that's because maybe you have a repeat offender who just waits for everybody to turn over, and then they do the same thing again. Just make sure you keep your discipline reports. Club records of supplies, 3 years. Club membership roster, you only have to keep the current year and the year prior to. And your charter, club approval, charter club, federal tax ID number, or your EIN number, retain that for the life of the club. We've had clubs that have, believe it or not, they've had their 50th anniversary already, and that's just fabulous. And they come to us and they say, what old documentation do you have? And we keep old documentation, but you all should be keeping that old documentation also, and it should be passed down from president to president. Did everybody get their president's package, by the way? Yeah? Did anybody not get it? Okay, if you did not get a president's package, what you need to do is you need to go back to your old president and ask them for your president's package, because that has everything in it that you need for this year. Important dates. This is also on the website. A lot of this is. But the important dates for January, the 31st, the 2nd, we have to have your officer update. I still do not have 28. So 28 of the new officer list, even if it was the same as last year, I still have to have it. 31st is your annual financial settlement report, and that needs to come into the club. Those were put in your president's packages with the ending balance or the beginning opening balance. So we actually plug that number in. So whatever the year before was their ending balance is this year's opening balance. So we give those out. Your 31st is the IRS form, your 1099s. If you have not picked up your 1099s, please do so. Please don't wait till the end of the month, because if there's a case, we've still got maybe 60 left. So don't wait till the end of the month, because I have to order those from the IRS. I'm pretty sure that most everyone that's needed 1099s has come in and gotten them, but we do have them in our office along with the 1096. Then your next important date is going to be March, and that's where your membership rosters are going to come in. I send, whoever your membership person is, I send the membership roster to them after it's been taken care of. And it's really super easy. It's in Excel. All you have to do is, for me, if you want to incorporate them in your list, that's great, but you don't have to. You can just come down here to the bottom and say new members, and I'll incorporate those for you. So it's really easy, and those 2 columns are all I need. And then you can go through the rest. But those are the really important dates. We're going to talk about April, what is important in April and May in a minute.
Let's all square dance. Places all. Bow to your corner. Bow to your own. 3 hands up and round you go. Break it up with a do-si-do. Chicken in the bread pan, kicking off dough. Skip to Maloo, my darling.
There we go. All right, independent contractors. Clubs using independent contractors to provide club-related services, i.e. dance callers, instructors, etc. You should define those roles and duties in your rules and regulations. And I want to stop right now real quick and talk about this also, because there has been a lot of flack over something that we maybe made a change in this independent contractor form, and there's been a lot of flack for it. So I want to talk about it. Obviously, incidents happen, and change happens when incidents happen. So what happened was we had an incident, and we looked at our independent contractor agreement, and it said that the independent contractor had they signed that they, on this form, that they had workers' compensation insurance. So all of you that are instructors out there, anybody got workers' compensation insurance? No. But you signed a form saying you did. So we had to go, oh man, I said, and I when I was talking with my boss, I said, if we make them produce a workers' compensation sheet, we are going to lose every independent contractor we have. Nobody's going to go out there and teach a class for nothing or for $250 a person. They have to pay for this insurance, right? And they said, well, but they're signing that they have it. So all these forms that we've been signing through the years are basically fraudulent. And what happened, we had an incident, and we said, well, how can we help our clubs and our independent contractors? So we went to our attorneys, and they said, basically, instead of doing the workers' comp, let's just do a hold harmless clause. Okay? You know, this is a very litigious age, right? So what we did is we went to our attorneys, and they went to the state of Arizona, and they looked at what the Arizona State Indemnity Clause is, which is what we're using. The flack came in when we have on the new form that the spouse has to sign it as well. So we didn't do this. The state of Arizona mandates that if you have an indemnification clause, your spouse has to sign it too. And the reason being is because I love my wife so much, and she fell over her own slipper, but it was on RCSC property. You don't have to assume, honey, I'll do it for you. So what happens now is the state of Arizona mandates that both spouse and the contractor have to sign it. If you get flack for it, I apologize. I really do. But I've had to take a hard line and tell everybody, if you get flack for it, they don't want to sign it, they're not going to be an instructor in your classroom. An instructor, let me go back. Okay. In independent contractor form, it defines the term of the contract. They're annual, so we need new ones annually. And they must be in the club's office 7 days prior to being services rendered. All monies must be paid and recorded by the club and paid with a check or a signed receipt. What we found was we have some clubs that were just saying, hey, just, when you come in, just give, Shirley the $5 and don't worry about it. Well, we can't do that. We cannot do a direct transfer of money because they're doing this for the club, okay? So it has to go through the club, and they have to have it check. The IRS Form 1099 must be issued by the club. Again, it has to be issued no later than the end of this month, and it's for any independent contractor that is paid $600 or more. If you have club members that are making more than $600, they have to have a 1099 as well. But I do have those in the office as well as the 1096s. So what's the difference? What's the difference? We get this all the time. The difference is Pat was walking by, and Mary said, I don't like the way this looks, Pat. And Pat says, well, hey, I've been doing this a long time. Let me just say, I think this color right here would look really good. She's giving guidance, okay? But over here you see our gal is actually instructing a class. She is instructing a class. And here's something else that came up about independent contractors. Well, why should she do it? She's a club member and she's not getting paid. That was a big one. If you are instructing a class in a class setting, And it doesn't matter if you're being remunerated or not, you are an independent contractor and you must sign an agreement. It's as easy as just signing the agreement and being done with it. That's the difference. Here's an example of our 1099. They're easy peasy. There's your 1096 if you need to have a 1096. Again, we have them both in our office. Here's a copy of the annual financial statement that's due at the end of the month. And again, up here, total opening balance, we provide that for you from last year. That's where we need to go from. And it's as easy, it's simple accounting. It's your opening balance, your income, your expenses, and your closing balance. Don't make it hard on yourself. It's simple math. And if you bring it in, and these numbers don't add up, we give it back to you so you can go add them up again. And we try to find help. We will help you try and find it. Because we've actually had, a club that spent a lot of time trying to find $43. So after they tried, and for some reason we just couldn't find this $43, no matter what we did. We gave it a pass. And we said, okay, we know you've spent multiple hours, but don't expect that very often. That's not going to happen very often. But we did it for that one because, again, it was unbelievable the time spent, and it was more than $43 an hour. E-postcards. E-postcards. Who knows what an e-postcard is? God bless you. E-postcards, they are an annual electronic filing requirement for small organizations like ours, like yours. So every year you have to file this 990 form before, I think it's May 15th. You have to do it before May 15th. It is easy, it is simple. If you don't have your information, all you need is your user ID and a password. And if you don't have that, get with the person that did it last year. Get with the person who did it last year, and I know sometimes there's bad blood there. And sometimes there's bad blood. So if in fact that's the case, you'll have to reset your password and your user ID. And we've got the information on here. If you have issues, there's a user guide that I'm going to have in the back that everybody can pick one up. Pick one up, only one for each club, okay, you guys? And the other thing that's really nice about this is that it has a YouTube video on how to file this, so it's pretty cool. But if in fact you do need help, you can come to our office, and I will grumble through it with you. Who must file again? Small company or small organizations with gross receipts that are normally less than $50,000 or more, and that pretty much encompasses all of you. Let's do the 15th. We have had 2 years in a row, clubs that have lost their charter. Last year, 2 years ago, we had 2 clubs that lost their charter because they didn't do this. And it's not because we're being mean, it's because the IRS says you have to do this. And so last year, 2 more. So please, make sure you get this done. Come see me if all else fails. Try and work through these and this guide that's going to be in the back, and then if you still need help. This is, again, your clubs can do this now. The deadline is the 15th of May. But if you want to do it now and get it off your do list, go ahead. This is what you're going to find in the back. I've got it in the back. I will have it in the back for you. Let's talk about scheduling, you guys. Hang with me for just another, you know what, you guys? Everybody stand up. Let's stand up and shake it off. It's kind of warm in here. Let's get some blood going to those important parts. Yeah, right, now sit down. Before you sit down, turn around and say hi to the person behind you. Hey, babe. Tell them what your club is. There you go. Hey guys, guess what? We have another COC who's just gotten here. Wait, raise your hand, Dottie. This is Dottie Parody. Hi, Dottie. She's been in the back. She was in the back. All right. So now let's talk about scheduling. Oh, look at you guys are all waving at each other. How cute is that? I like it. Scheduling. We schedule a year in advance. So right now, we are accepting 2021 schedules. And the reason we do this a year in advance is because we have 130 plus clubs, plus we have our RCSC events, plus we're a venue for other events as well. So with that many clubs, and we have so many, our clubs have been so successful and everybody is doing so great that they want more time and more space, and we just don't have it. We're out of it. I'm going to tell you right now, we are out of extra space. So make sure you get your schedules in as soon as possible for 2021. When you're doing your scheduling, and this was in your president's package as well, up at the top, your regular club hours and days. If you're open, again, January through December, and you're on Monday through Friday, just write that in there and your times. If you're open, if you meet once a week or twice a week, put January through December, Tuesday and Thursdays, and your hours. We don't need you to go through and put all the dates on there. We've had that before, and really, we want to make this as simple. We changed this up, so we made it as simple as possible. You're going to have times, we're going to have the regular hours indicated in sun views. So if you have a big event and you're going to be in the hall from 3 o'clock to to 10 o'clock, but your event doesn't really start till 6 o'clock, we need you to make note of that, because what we're going to do is we're going to come in here, we're going to look and see what you have in here, and if it's Monday through Friday or whatever it is, whatever you put on that is what we're going to designate for your hours in the sun views, and that's what we're going to publish. But if you put down here, even if you note it on the side, Joanne and I can tell Jolynn, and Jolynn will pop it into her computer and say, well, that event really doesn't start till 6, but you're in there, you're going to be decorating for 3 hours. But we don't know unless you tell us. We don't know that you're decorating for 3 hours, so make sure you designate that on here. If your summer hours are different, make sure you put your summer hours in there. Make sure you put this is where you're going to make sure you put your board meetings. How many board meetings a year? Woohoo! How many membership meetings? You guys are so good. Somebody's listening to me. Tournaments, special, your special like Christmas parties, any special parties you're doing. Again, this is where you're going to list them for us. And what will happen is Joanne and I won't start doing this probably till June, because right now we are just so busy, we can't even get to this. And with so many clubs, what happens is, if you have regular hours, you're the knitters, and every Friday from 8 o'clock till 2 o'clock, you have your hours. We're going to go in, we're going to put those regular hours in there first. And we're going to come back afterwards, after everybody's regular hours are popped in there, and then we're going to start putting in the parties and all the other things. Just because you put it on this sheet doesn't mean it's going to happen that way, but we try our very best to accommodate every single club, and there are going to be times where we may not be able to accommodate someone, or we have to move someone, or unfortunately we may have to cancel somebody due to an event or a project going on or something like that. But we try our hardest to accommodate you, to move you, and in your president's package, you will find there's always going to be a letter in there that says, we had a conflict, but we moved you here. We had conflict and we had to cancel you, but if you want us to try to find another spot for you, come see us. So if you had any of those, you're welcome to come in and we'll work through those with you and see what we can do. But this is due at the end of April, but the sooner you get it in, the better the chance is, that you're going to get what you're looking for. Because again, if somebody comes in at 8:30 and gives me their sheet, and then you give me the sheet 5 days later, who's going to get it? The person who brought it in first. And again, we're always going to accommodate you with your normal hours first. Setup requests. We do setup requests to ensure that we're in compliance with all of our codes, fire codes, safety rules. Each club must submit this setup sheet to us, and we would like it 3 to 4 weeks in advance. We know that's not always the case, can't be always the case, but we want it 3 to 4 weeks in advance. If you have any questions about your particular event, will it hold that many tables? How many chairs does it hold? Ask the lead custodian. If you think, I'm not sure the way I've got these tables, because one of the things that people love to do is they like to try to put as many people in a room as they can. And you have to remember, if you've got a 6-foot table here and a 6-foot table here, and you're putting 3 people on each side, do you have a walkway? Do you have ingress and egress? Ingress is the ability to walk through there, and it's got to be basically 3 feet. Do you have the ability in an emergency to get out of there? So that's ingress and egress. Club members do this from time to time, and we're going to ask you not to do it. Club members are prohibited from moving tables and chairs once we have set it up. You cannot, I hear grumbling in here. I hear it already. I know you guys. I hear you. We do that all the time. I know. But you're not supposed to. We have people here, and we have workers' compensation in case somebody hurts themselves. Any of us, including this young'un here, who was that? Raise your hand. Who was that? We all know that we can turn wrong, and something goes, oh! So we have workers' comp. You don't move those tables, okay? Those setup sheets come to us. And here we go. Don't you take those setup sheets to the custodians and give them to them and expect them to be able to do it. They will give it right back to you, or they're supposed to give it right back to you, and they're going to say, this has to go through the club's office. We have 130 plus clubs, and all of the events that go on, those come to us. We filter them to the correct event site. So those, don't give them, please don't give them to the custodians, because they have, if it continues to happen, they'll be written up. They've got to come through our office. There's got to be some chain of not command, what's the word I'm looking for? Chain of custody. Thank you. Chain of custody on these things. And here he is, a copy of the new forms. We have new forms. Oh, well, we had the same one for 25 years. We know you have, and it needs to be changed. So give us new forms every year. What you're going to find we did is we had never done this in the past, but now you know where all the electrical outlets are. You know where the AV, audio visuals are, plugins are, and we tell you where the fire extinguishers are and the room, how the room is set up. In a perfect world, you're going to fill this out, and where it says up there, event, third line down, event date, pre-event. That's where if you're going to decorate for 3 hours, you tell us from 2 to 5 you're decorating. Because we're also going to be able to look at that and say, okay, your event's from 5 to 8. And we can double check that against what we put in the sun views. And what we're telling people, because people call us all the time, what time is that Christmas party, that the Needle people are doing? Well, it's going to be at 5 o'clock. So make sure, and then put your time in for your cleanup. And remember, if you say you're leaving at 10 o'clock, you don't start cleaning up at 10 o'clock. The room has to be vacated at that time, because what we do is we put in time between. If we have to give our staff, our custodial staff, time to come in and clean up after you and set up for the next room. And we try to give at least an hour between. So make sure that you know that if it says you're done at 9 o'clock, that includes your cleanup time. You want to give us as much information as possible. You want 2 6-foot tables You want 15 card tables. You need 60 chairs. We don't need any, we don't need any of the archway or anything like that. So just say no, no, no. Yeah, we want to use your coffee maker. We provide coffee makers. We don't provide the coffee. But we have coffee makers, any of those things that you need. And make sure to always put your contact information on there in case we have any questions. Let's see. Oop. Why do you think that's in red? Because of what we just talked about. Don't move that.
We will rock you.
And rock you they will. These guys are amazing. If you need help with your sound system, if you're having a party and you're going to be using the piano, or you're going to be using audio visual and you need help with it, these are the folks that are going to help you with your audio visual. This is Mike Dvorak. Mike Dvorak joined our team about 3 or 4 years ago, and it's been great ever since. He does, the TVs out there that have like the concerts and all of those things? That's one of his main responsibilities, to do that, but he also helps the players. And so at any given time whenever they're doing a rehearsal, he's great. He's amazing with lighting, and he helps out. Alan. Hey, Alan. Alan's up there in the crow's nest. Let's all turn around and say hi to Alan. Hey, Alan. Alan has been with us a very long time, and he is the guru. If Alan can't tell you what's wrong, no one can tell you what's wrong. Since I've been here, Alan is up in the attic. He's pulling cable. He is absolutely a rock star. And then we have Jim Moore. Jim is our newest member of our audio-visual team. And I don't know how many of you recognize that face, but that's the man who used to own he used to have his own TV show on building custom bikes. Yeah. So he is an incredible asset to us. He is also pretty darn amazing, and he, until recently, was the talent agent for a gentleman by the name of Mickey Free. Does anybody remember Mickey Free? Probably not. Mickey Free is the gentleman that came here and did the Native American flute for us. That's Mickey Free. Mickey Free is a rock star. And I mean, really, he is a rock star. Mickey goes all over the world. Recently to Australia, he has gone to Canada, and Jim's been with him on all those tours. And Mickey is now playing with Carlos Santana. Yep. And he is also playing in a band that's Prince. You remember Prince? An offshoot of Prince's band. He is truly an incredible guy. So Jim's got a lot of great talent and energy also. You guys, I have to tell you a funny story about this slide. So at the last meeting, Sue says, hey, where the heck is that slide? I need a copy of that slide because I don't think it's in your packets. And the reason it's not in your packets is because it was hidden behind the food fight, and it didn't come out. But we're going to talk about food. We're going to talk about food. And you know what? It was funny because we couldn't find it. Sue said, hey, I need a copy for my COCs. And Jolene's looking for it, and I'm looking for it. We cannot find that stinking slide anywhere. And I looked through what I sent Alan, and Jolene's like, don't you remember standing up there talking about that slide? And I said, what are you talking about? She says, the one about the alcohol and stuff and sales. And I'm like, no, that was like 7 hours ago. I don't remember anything. Then all of a sudden I was like, hey, Jolene, I do. And we looked for that stinking slide, and you know when we found it? At 12:15 today, and it was hidden. Alan, our guru, found it for us. And so it is, again, thank you, Alan. It was funny because we looked through every email, we looked through every presentation, we looked through everything and could not find that slide. So, with that being said, too much information. Let's talk about food. The sale of alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages and food, raw or cooked, is prohibited without licensing. Oh my God, what about our potlucks? Don't worry about that. If a club or organization sponsoring an event or a tournament wishes to accept donations or charge a fee for any food, alcohol, or non-alcoholic beverages, you must contact the Maricopa County Environmental Health Services at least 7 days in advance and report your event to determine if it is going to be needing a special license. If a club is and if you also are going to be selling alcohol, you also need to contact the special events license from Arizona and the Department of Liquor. Any club may provide alcohol and non-alcoholic beverages or food, provided that such are made available to club members and their escorted guests only. Club members and their escorted guests only, okay? If you have any questions regarding this rule, you can contact or go look up Board Policy 25. It doesn't cover potlucks. You're doing that for your people. That's not what we're talking about, but you still cannot cook from a raw stage. Do not cook from a raw stage ever on our property. We used to have a guy that came in and made pizzas for everybody that were delicious pizzas, but you know what? They were from a raw state. And so he had to go out to the parking lot and cook these pizzas to bring them in. Because our kitchens here are not approved by Maricopa County for cooking from a raw state. There's only a couple of places, and those are like our bowling alleys and our cafes. Catering services, a lot of you have really great parties that have catering services. Caterers are required, they're required to have a certificate of insurance, and that's a minimum of $1 million in liability insurance. And all caterers have these. All caterers should have these. They also have to give us a food permit, and we have these on file here at RCSC. And if you have one, like we just had one, Wild Bunch, we had Wild Bunch Catering, was going to be doing something, and we have them on, but their certificate had expired, and I just called them up and he just sent it to me. So if you have someone, if you're going to have a party and you want to find out if someone's on your catering list, call us and we'll let you know, or we'll print a catering list off for you, because we've got some pretty darn great caterers. We're gonna take another stand up in a minute. Club signage. Oh, I didn't bring it up here. Permanent signage has to be approved by the Assistant General Manager, installed by RCSC personnel only. Any temporary signage is not allowed in parking lots or curbs or along the roadside. And I think if you probably have never even thought, or this has never occurred for you to look, but also if you know how you see yard sale signs and you see realtor signs and all that, if a realtor sign or any of those signs are on our property, our custodial staff takes them down because we are a private property and we don't have any of these kinds of things along the side. If you need to have temporary signage, you're doing a pickleball tournament, let's say pickleball tournament, or the big one is our RCSC Arts and Crafts Festival. Temporary signage is not to exceed 7 days, and it has to be approved by the Assistant General Manager prior to placement. So if you need to do something like that, the one that's coming up soon is the clay show, right? Clay show. You let us know exactly where you want it placed and what it looks like. If you've got a picture of it, we need a picture of it. If not, we need a description of it. It's 12 by whatever, and this is what it says, yada, yada, and we'll get that to Chris, and Chris will let us know if that's going to be approved. Why don't you go ahead and stand up again and shake it down again, and Jolene's going to come up, and Jolene's going to talk to you about advertising and marketing. Yay! Here you go. Hey, I didn't say you could leave. No leaving. There you go. Right here, babe.
Is that on? It's on.
There you go.
I see people going out the back door.
I'm going that way right now, Jolynn. I'm actually going to go ahead and put some things out for y'all. Go ahead, Jolynn. Jolynn's going to teach you all about
If you
marketing.
guys want to stay standing while I start talking and flipping through the slides, my name's JoLynn Higgins. I do communications and marketing for the recreation centers. You will know me from Sunviews, the website, email blasts. I program the electronic signs around. So those are the things I do for my job besides press releases and contact with the local media. I am here to help you make your club successful any way I can. All right, so as far as club advertising and marketing, instructors may not advertise the services being rendered here at RCSC. They can't put on their website, hey, I got dance lessons at Sundial on Friday nights, come on and you can sign up for them. No, they can't do that. No advertising for them. Donations that you guys make to RCSC are actually used to promote your club events and activities. Clubs should not expect to receive more marketing assistance than what you donate to the RCSC. So if your club donates $100 to the RCSC, don't expect us to help you with $500 of printing costs, okay? It just, the numbers don't work that way. And if clubs are advertising or marketing club events not open to the public, they must state that the event is open to card holders only and their escorted guests. That is the one thing I look for on outside, like Facebook page. A lot of clubs have started their own Facebook page or their own websites. Those always have to say right up front that the club is open only to RCSC card holders. If you've got something that is open beyond that, it's going to be your sanctioned event, and that's something you work with Myrna on, and she and I help you coordinate that and get the publicity out, okay? So, what do we got here? One thing you guys all get to do is flyers and posters. We make you 500 copies out of the club's office a year. Those are only black and white copies on color paper. If you want color copies of your flyers that get posted around the various centers or your instructional sheets, those things, you have to take those and get color copies made outside. I do, again, the website, and each club gets their own web page, which I update. It keeps your basic information, hours, annual fees. I don't monitor those things, so you need to check. Is it the right contact? Are the right hours listed on your website? And if it's not correct, let me know. I'm happy to do it. I have a form that you can fill out, but honestly, if you can write me a clear email that says, Janice is no longer the contact for this club, it should be Kathy, and this is Kathy's phone number. Tell me exactly what comes off, exactly what should go on. I'm happy to do it, and I'll send you an email back that says, hey, it's done, check it out, and we're through with our business, okay? You get your directory or your listing in the directory in the center of Sunviews. Everybody know what Sunviews is? Okay, you better. That's what I have to say. You better know what Sunviews is. The directory is made from your schedule that you submit to the club's office. I make that whole document for the year. So as things change, if it wasn't on your original schedule, or the schedule you get back from the club's office that says you can't have your party on December 16th, but instead we've booked it for you on the 18th, I get that change. But anything else that might get changed in your schedule during the year, let me know so that I can make sure that the directory gets updated. Otherwise, if you only work with the club's office, sure, you've got the room. Unfortunately, no one knows where it is and on what day. They're finding the information in Sunviews. I also have what I call in the back the club want ads. They're the club activities and event listings. Not every club uses that, If every club did, Sunviews would probably be about 176 pages. So they're just very small little blurbs of when various clubs meet, again, hours. If they have a special party, a lot of the dance clubs use it, so folks know who's going to be DJing or playing. And then the other thing is you get one annual article a year for your club. Annual articles run, the schedule is rotating, and they run from October through March. So everything for Sunviews is due to me by the 5th of the month, okay? So if your annual article is scheduled to run in February's paper, I should have had it January 5th. But that is your once-a-year opportunity to say what you want to say of why someone wants to join your club versus any other club or any similar club. So you really want to make good use of that. It's also a nice place to highlight, maybe a member who has a special talent, who offers, classes, those sorts of things. But most clubs are really good about it. And I am limited. I think the most I have one month is like 23 clubs. So if every club put in an annual article, I probably wouldn't have space. But I do my best, say what you want to say, and I can edit it, okay? You can also include pictures with those or graphics. So those are really important for you to put out. And then, yeah, go. You're off. Yeah. I'll put that next schedule out in April, and it'll be posted under the club forms.
However, your COCs are going to be getting those in the week. So if you have any questions about when your article is due, you can also ask them.
And it really just moves 1 month ahead. So if you're February this cycle, you're March in the next one, and then it goes back, you're October. It's really not that hard. But if you pick up an old schedule from somebody, check what the dates actually are, because the dates run, again, from October through March. So the one that is on the streets right now today is October 2019 to March 2020. If somebody hands that off to you, you're not going to know when you run in the next cycle, okay? Again, here's my contact information. Email is the best way to get a hold of me. I can file your submitted information for Sunviews that way, or if it's for the website, I keep all that information on the computer, and it's much easier for me to get a hold of, to keep things sorted. Subject line, really important. Chances are, if you're sending me a club event or an article, it's for Sunviews. Please tell me which club it's for, is what I really need to know. Again, the deadline for Sunviews is the 5th day of the month prior to publication. Your events, your club directory information, your annual articles, and then the other thing I do in there is Sun City Gives Back. That's to talk about your charity work. You guys make a lot of blankets, you help at food banks, you do all kinds of great projects for people both in Sun City and out of Sun City, in the state of Arizona and further. That is stuff I want to help you promote what your club does. And it's another opportunity to say, hey, by the way, we meet Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 9 to 5. And, it's just another chance to get information about your club out there. But it's not meant to be more work for you. Tell me when you're doing the donation, where you're doing it. I'll come take the picture. I'll write the story. You don't have to do any more work. I just want to know about it, okay?
And she especially wants to know if you're doing something out of state, like in Hawaii or someplace like that.
Yeah.
She'd be happy to come and take pictures for you.
I don't know why no one has set up the wine club yet, but... Okay, again, check your web pages. Make sure the contacts are right. A lot of people, Myrna does a lot of her communication through the presidents. I got to, if a club's got 300 members, the president can't take all the, when do you guys meet phone calls? They have somebody designated to take that, to disseminate that kind of information. So please check the website and make sure the contact information is right. I'll get somebody, that was our president 4 years ago. Well, nobody told me to change the website. So that's one I got to put on you guys, okay? Club flyers, you can just email those in to clubs@SunCityAZ. Those are the ones the club's office distributes to the centers for posting. And those should be into them by the 22nd of each month. So then we can get all the copies made and the distribution done. The electronic signs have very, very, very limited use for club activities. The only thing I will put on the signs, if anything, are special events. For example, an open house. I'll do the concert band's upcoming concert. Only 2 or 3 days. Those signs were put up for RCSC activities, but I know the value that they provide in communicating to folks. Not everybody reads the newspaper. Not everybody gets emails. That's a nice way of being able to get some more information out. Just ask me, is this something that might qualify? And I can pencil it into my calendar and put it on for you if it's possible. Local media, I like to sort of review those before you send them, especially the first or second time, because again, I want to make sure that you are telling in whatever you're doing a press release about where your club is, when it's open, that only card holders can be members of it, just to double check on that sort of information. But the nice thing about our local media here, comes out once a week, so you can get a lot of bang for your buck on press releases, where my publication is only once a month. Sunviews is only once a month. If you miss the deadline, I highly encourage you to use the Independent for that. Social media posts. Those are handled through the visitor center, and anything that you've got coming up that you think somebody might be interested in, send it in an email to Polly at the visitor center, and she might be able to put it on the Sun City Facebook page. It's a way to get our name out there and your club activities.
Jolene, can I interject real quick?
Yeah, I forgot something in here.
Well, one of the things we want to talk about is like club brochures.
Yeah.
Remember, your clubs are only open to RCSC cardholders only. So your brochures should be only on the RCSC property in the designated spots. And I was telling the other group the other day, I was in Benny's Burgers. You can tell that I like to go to Benny's Burgers. And I saw a club's brochures in there. Well, we can't have the club brochures in there because it's also open to the public. And those clubs are only for RCSC cardholders only. And then I went to the doctor's office and I found another one for a different club. And so I had to contact those clubs. So just remember, those are not to be put in public places because we're, again, social clubs for RCSC cardholders only. We're not open to the public.
Yeah, so your club brochures are basically a tool for you to use at your club room. If somebody stops in, visits, wants some more information, you hand off the brochure. The other place that brochures are allowed in Sun City is the visitor center. That is the main housing for club brochures. They're not housed in the club's office. Polly and her volunteers have all of that information, and that includes non-RCSC clubs. For example, hiking and biking. Those are not chartered RCSC clubs. They are outside regional club activities, but all that club brochure information goes through the visitor center.
Does everybody
and it's
know
up
where
to you to make sure that stock is good there, too.
Does everybody know where the visitor center is located here in Sun City?
Bell Center.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, before we go on to emergency procedures, one other thing I would like to mention to you that I do is the email blasts that you all receive, including your Sun City AZ Week. If you're not signed up to get those, I highly encourage it. Right now, my email list is up to about 10,000 people. So if one person gets the correct information and tells it to one other person, that means I have 20,000 people who are getting the correct information versus talking to your neighbors and getting the wrong information. So stop by my office or shoot me an email. I'll make sure you're signed up for those. Otherwise, I'll stay after the end of the presentation if anybody has any questions for me.
Thank you,
Thank
JoLynn.
you.
I'm happy to say that we are way ahead of schedule, so you guys are going to get out of here. Don't start clapping. It's right here, Joe. Right there. We're going to quickly talk about emergency procedures. In every one of your offices, in every one of your club rooms, and in our social halls, JoLynn, poor JoLynn, she's so,
I'm a paper person, and this is why.
she's technologically challenged. When it's green, it's on, JoLynn. Okay. It's on, it's on. What was that? It is now off. You're welcome, sweetheart. Everyone has in their room one of these, and you'll even see one in the back of the room here. What? JoLynn? I must have been popping this thing the same time I'm trying to pop that. But anyways, it's an emergency procedures. If we have a fire drill, how many of you, by show of hands, know where you're supposed to go? Out the door. Yeah, it is a smart group for Friday, but remember, they're retired. Out the door, that was awesome, you guys. This tells you exactly what you're supposed to do. Please, and where to go. This also is in your rooms. And these should be posted by your telephone if you have a telephone. They should be posted by the monitor if you have a monitor, or a telephone. This gives you the address of all of our centers, and it was pointed out to me the other day, we are starting to use Riverview Golf Course for some meetings, and we're also we use Talisman Hall, and we don't have that on here. I'm going to update it, and I'm going to send a copy to all of the presidents, and you guys can replace them. But this gives you all the information about if calling 911, you have to say, hey, we're at the Bell Rec Center. You know what? All of us know where the Bell Rec Center is, but most likely what we're going to get is we're going to get an emergency operator that's in downtown Phoenix, and she doesn't know where Bell is. So what we do is we want to make sure that you have our addresses on your walls in case you have somebody that needs emergency services. What's that? Oh, if in fact you have someone who's fallen out, slip, fall, injury indicated, and you need to call 911, please do so, but then send somebody, Bob, please go over and let somebody know at the monitor station, RCSC monitor station, that we've got ambulance coming. And then what we do is we get out there and we're right there. We know which room it is instead of them trying to figure out where in the center this emergency is, so we can get that person their care as quickly as possible. We're going to talk about incident reports. I'm not even going to talk to you about that right this second, because we're going to talk about it in more depth in a minute. That woke you guys up. That's the sound you're going to hear if you have to evacuate your club room. Again, I see someone's a smarty pants over here. If you hear this noise, and we're going to start this year, where we're going to have it at every center. We're going to have emergency practice. So know where your designated spot is. In every room, it has, and you'll see it as you walk out the back, it has a diagram of where you are right now and where you need to go. So don't wait for the emergency to be able to train your people to tell them where they need to go. I want to give kudos, if there's any Lakeview people here, I want to give kudos to Lakeview people. Recently we had a fire alarm go off, and what happens is when that fire alarm goes off, staff members go into hyper mode. And I get upstairs, and I am going through every room, and I'm telling you, leave your belongings. Get out. If you know you have someone in there that needs help, I help them, or one of our staff members will help them. Don't wait around in an emergency situation. Get the heck out of Dodge, okay? And if it's in your if there's a fire in your club room, close your door. But by all means, tell somebody immediately, Myrna, it's in our room. We burned a bag of popcorn. That did happen, by the way. We did evacuate for a burned bag of popcorn one year. Go to your designated safety area, and just because you see somebody else walking back in, do not go in until somebody like an RCSC staff member says, we have the all clear, go ahead and go on back in. Do not migrate back to your rooms. Safety is everybody's responsibility, and it's one of our priorities is that we keep everybody as safe as possible. I'm going to tell you that I have not read any of my notes through this whole thing because, again, this is many years I've been doing this. Our young lady that normally does our incident reporting procedure is going to have surgery, so she is at an appointment right now, so please bear with me as I go through the incident reporting for you. And we're also going to talk about service animals in a second. So who completes an incident report? Okay. If you have an incident in your office, in your room, or wherever you are, and it's a slip, fall, trip, if you have something like somebody's come in and they've stolen things from you, you've got to break in, those are the kind of things you're going to do on an incident report. What we need to know is we need to know the individual involved. If that individual involved is able to fill that form out, please have them fill that form out and have them fill them out as soon as possible because they're going to remember things about the incident that may be lost later on. Any witnesses, please have witnesses fill out a separate incident report on what they saw. And make sure that if a club officer or monitor is present at the time and someone cannot fill out their own, I used to do them for the Sun Bowl, but most of the time when I was doing it for the Sun Bowl is because we had somebody in the back room who had passed out or someone who had hurt their head or someone was bleeding, so I did them for them. If, in fact, they are capable, please ask them to do that. Incident reports, please do not make copies of incident reports. Those incident reports need to be brought to my office ASAP. All of them, witnesses and so on. Bring them to my office, filled out. They're confidential, so do not make copies of them. And if we're not going to get back to you and say, Mary, thanks for getting that into us. And by the way, Joanne's going to be great. She's going to be fine. Don't worry about her. She went to the hospital. Blah, 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 blah. We're not going to tell anybody's business because it's legal document and it's confidential. So once it leaves your hands, you will not know what happened with it. When, where, what, and who. The most important thing if somebody goes down in your room is to get them stabilized, but the first thing you do is what? Call 911. Immediately. We'd rather you call 911 and have somebody come and be looked at. And we, all the time, we come up against this where somebody falls out of their chair, and then they're embarrassed, and they don't want to have anybody make a big fuss over them. And we say, call anyhow. They don't have to be transported, but if somebody falls or loses consciousness, you call 911 because, again, if you've got somebody who's got chest pain, is short of breath, all of those things, no, I'll just go home. Try as best you can to calm them, but get somebody to call 911. They don't have to be transported. If you have a theft, contact Maricopa County Sheriff's Department and get that reported. And when you get your report, bring that report to us, because that's going to help. We have a great relationship with the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department. Not that we use them very often, but we do have them. So let me ask you this. Who fills the form out? Yeah, that's right. You got it. That's right. Okay, so who do you notify? Club's office, thank you, Jolynn. Okay, get it done, try and get it to us within 24 hours or the next business day. If in fact you can take pictures, please take pictures of the surrounding area. We don't ask you to take pictures of the person, and the reason why is because, again, there's some confidentiality issues there, and nobody wants on their worst day when they fall and break their leg or hip or whatever, to have a picture of them floating around of them in pain. So do the surrounding areas. If somebody slips, take a picture of the area. Was there water present? If they fell or tripped, was it because of the sidewalk or was it because of their own, shoe? Just take a picture of the area on your cell phones if you have the ability to do that, and get it to us also. Service animals. What's a service animal? That's right, oh dear. What is a service animal? A service animal is a dog that has been individually trained to do a task, to do work, to perform that task for an individual's disability. What does do work or perform a task mean? It means assisting individuals who are blind or visually impaired. They go and they pick things up for them. It means if a dog that needs to alert their master because of hearing loss or impairment. It means protecting a person in a providing nonviolent protection or rescue work. That's a service animal. Maybe pulling a wheelchair. Maybe alerting if it's to an allergen or a seizure. It also is providing physical stability. I don't know if you all have ever seen it, but there are service animals that when you get up from a chair, that dog will stand right there, and it just gets its back up and supports that person while they stand up. So it's for stability. Let's just hold on to this thought for a second. Identification of service animals. Do they wear a vest or a patch or a special harness? They do not have to. That's not mandated. What we take our service animal policy from is the American Disabilities Act. So we follow their act. They do not have to be in any special harness and do they have to be, are they a special breed? Not necessarily. They are not a special breed either. Thank goodness we haven't had any service peacocks or anything like that recently. Did y'all see that on the airplane? Wasn't that crazy? Okay. What if a service animal is wandering around not within the owner's control? Service animals are different than emotional support animals, and we're going to talk about emotional support animals in a minute. A trained animal an animal does not have to be trained by a specialized person to be a service animal, but they have to be trained to do a certain task. So there's a difference there. If an animal is running around the room, giving kisses to everybody, and greeting everybody, and its tail's wagging, and it's off the leash, is that a service animal? No, it is not a service animal. Service animals are under the control of their master at all times. The only time you're going to see a service animal that is not on a leash is if you've got someone who is maybe in a wheelchair and they have an extended leash and that dog goes through that door or is going to be pulling their master, something like that. Those do happen. Okay, that's. Oh, and the other one is, and we're going to talk about this too, is emotional animals versus psychiatric animals. Okay, emotional support dogs are just that, emotional support, and RCSC does not recognize emotional support animals. You're welcome. You're very welcome. We have a no pet policy. An emotional support animal is just that. It's for emotional support. It's to comfort that person, that's it. Psychiatric service animals are very different. Say you have a soldier that comes back and they have PTSD. That dog is trained, may not be under the control of that, well, it's under the control of that person, but it may walk through that door without that person. And the reason it's walking through that door without that person is because it is going to alert its PTSD soldier that it's okay to go through that door. It's not in it, but if there's danger on the other side of the door, it won't let that person come through. So that's a psychiatric dog. The other kind of psychiatric dog that we also approve is a psychiatric, say someone tends to harm themselves, or they have a propensity to harm themselves. If a dog sees that the person is going to slash their wrist or something along those lines, that dog is trained to alert that owner, not good. So there are things like a psychiatric dog, but not emotional support. They're not the little lovies that come in all the time. Those are pets. What kind of questions can you ask? There's only 2 questions you can ask. Oh gosh, I'm way ahead of myself here. Again, what questions can be asked about an animal? First of all, you can't say to somebody, "What's your disability, Dottie?" That's a no-no. You cannot ask about someone's disability. That's their disability. You cannot ask about that. In a situation where it's not obvious that an animal is a service dog, a service animal, you're going to ask 2 questions. And these are the 2 questions that the Americans with Disability Act allows. Is your animal a service animal required because of a disability? You can't ask what the disability is, but what is that, or is it for a disability? Yes. What work or task has your animal been trained to perform? Those are the only 2 questions you can ask. That's the only 2 questions you can ask. If you don't feel comfortable and somebody brings their little puppy in and you don't feel comfortable asking those questions, please contact an RCSC employee and we'll come talk with them. Service animals, you can't ask if they have documentation. Because you know what? You can get online and you can get documentation. For $50, all of us can get documentation saying that little boo-boo here is a service animal and puts a cute little vest on her. That doesn't mean that it's really a service animal, okay? You may not ask the person, "Oh, so the dog goes and gets you water. I'd like to see that. Show it to me." You can't do that. That's nunya. And you can't, again, inquire about the person's disability. Clear as mud? Yay! Okay. What if the animal is out of control? Even a service animal. We had a situation at one of our clubs where we had someone bring in a very large animal. And that person said, "My animal is being trained as a service dog for protection." And come to find out, that service dog, or that dog was not being trained by anybody other than its master because they were concerned about their safety for whatever reason. It was not a service animal, and it actually went after one of our janitors. And by grace of God, it did not get him. So we're very, very careful about making sure the animals are around, or they're in control of their animal at all times. All service animals should be. So if you have any questions about service animals, please contact your COC. I think you guys, that's pretty much what she would have told you. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming for the Charter Club officer training. And if you have any suggestions, I'm going to go ahead and next year, because we have generally around 300 people, we had probably 300, 325 people at our first one. And I can see that we have close to 200 here, just because I know the seating arrangement. What I'm going to do next year is I'm going to use this entire space, and we're going to give you tables. So you'll have tables for next year. The other thing is, this is my first year as a chartered club. Did I tell you guys about how us changing? I did? Okay, I didn't do the budget this year. Next year I'm going to do the budget, and we're going to have water and tea and cookies next year. So that'll keep, but I'm not going to do it till like the very last minute. Coffee in the morning. You guys, I'm going to see you at Discover Sun City, right? Discover Sun City is next week. Just to recap, it's right here at Sundial. Excuse me. It's right here at Sundial. You have to have your table set up no later than 8:45 in the morning, where our doors are going to open at 7:30. Your table has to be, again, by 8:45. We start promptly at 9 o'clock. We end at 11 o'clock. Be back by 5:45. You do not have to take your table down because we're going to lock these doors. And so you come back by 5:45, and then we'll start at 6. Thank you, and I'll be right here if you guys have any questions.
This is a copyrighted production of the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated and is intended for the sole purpose of informing our Recreation Center members. Any duplication, copying, transmission, broadcast, or use, including electronic and social media, is strictly prohibited without the prior written consent from the Recreation Centers of Sun City Incorporated. Thank you for watching.